Welcome back to another FPL reaction stream, this time ahead of Game Week 27, and we still have 2 games left of the amazing Game Week 26, which I've had such a fun time just being a part of. And apologies for the, kind of like the late start, you could say, but I've been wrestling my own technology, so it's just been a fabulous day from start to finish. I hope you still find some value or, I don't know, find some entertainment from this stream, but I'll delve straight into your questions and hopefully we have a great bloody time because that's all we get in FPL. So like the video if you enjoy it, subscribe to the channel. We hit 32,000 in the Tuesday deadline stream for UCL Fantasy. Whoopie do, you could say. James123 says, hello Dylan, hope your game week is going well so far. Is selling Vissa to Cunha a good move? I do like Cunha long term, so my answer will be yes. The thing is with Vissa, I still would argue his short-term fixtures are quite good, but from Blank Game Week 29 onwards, he is definitely sellable. Easy99 says 22 points plus 12 from Ursula, nice one, with 5 players to go. Yeah, I wasn't too fond of Ursula, but he'll probably outscore Arne Slot tomorrow, and of course those who went for Arteta today have absolutely ruined it. Absolute disaster weekend, yeah, I second that. That extended cut-off time ruined me. The only change I made after the so-called deadline we got yesterday was Mikolenko in for Veltman, but guess what? It meant absolutely nothing because once again, when Brighton face Southampton, Veltman gets a mysterious injury and is omitted from the squad. So, yeah, I've learnt my lesson. I'm never going for Veltman again in FPL. Easy99 says you should do a poll if a system manager chip should stay or get rid. Well, look, ultimately people who have done well with the chip, especially those that went from Moyes, Emery to then Glasner, they'll be saying, oh, it's an amazing chip, we should keep it. But ultimately, I've said this all along, it will be determined by how people have done with that chip. I'm of the opinion that it should be scrapped, but then again, I still think, obviously, it's here until the end of the season. We'll see how it plays out. But yeah, I definitely would rather have something else instead, even how we had before with the all-out attack chip. Yeah, here we go. Easy99 with some dumb comments, let's say. Damn it, Chelsea lose. Well, it's nothing new there, is it? Lucky Villa says Andrew Barton. I went for 1-1 as my prediction, so that looked like it was going to be my only correct score for the game so far this weekend. Well, no, not even that. And Aston Villa got a late winner courtesy of Marco Asensio with the brace. Insane Gamer 7 says not buying any more Villa players. I'm taking hits, -8, -12. I'm now being ruthless. I don't trust this. Roll the transfer. Well, yeah, but then look at Ollie Watkins last week. He did the business, but I did say before his record against Chelsea at home is pretty terrible. So I'm not completely surprised by the blank, but you still would expect better, especially with Villa getting the victory in the end. It was Rashford with both assists. My FPL season is over now. 1.8 million. Might as well take hits. Yeah, you might as well have fun with it. I get your point. Ultimately, I hope the season ends very soon. I mean, not even from an FPL perspective. I'm more so on about my club. It's just been bad news after bad news from start to finish, so I can't wait until the next campaign. 30 points, 5 to go, says ZX Trenix. Could be worse, I guess, but yeah, 5 to go. Not too promising, but hopefully the Sunday's much better for you. Thoughts on Ange AM? Next to our City and Cherries for table bonus. Spurs always play well versus City. Maybe in this video I'll show you my graphics for next week or midweek for Game Week 27. I have gone for a Spurs win there against Man City, so yeah, I think Ange Postecoglou is a nice shout, but ultimately with football and the Premier League, it's very difficult to actually predict, so you need a lot of luck, no matter which manager you choose, but I think Ange Postecoglou is worth a punt at the moment. The thing is, like, yeah, even with Tottenham Hotspur recently, I'm still kind of waiting for the next slip-up or disaster, because it is Tottenham after all, but against City, I think they'll probably get the job done. All my choice of manager in my challenge hits, but not for the FPL team. Actually, an FPL challenge, so I went for Emery and Moyes in the last 2 weeks, but I went for Arteta this time round just because, I said it before, my only temptation with the Arsenal manager was the kind of, I'm going for my chosen club, my favourite club's manager and yada, yada, yada. But yeah, Glasner, fair play to those that went there. But massive swing. I think those that went for Arteta were very unfortunate, but in the end, that blunt Arsenal attack was always going to get found out eventually, and they almost did last week against Leicester, and I thought it would happen against Forest, not against West Ham. Currently on my smallest green arrow. You got to take the green arrow whenever they come, of course. I was kind of hoping for one in UCL Fantasy because that match day was one of the most frustrating in the Champions League I've experienced in a while. And then, yeah, with Arsenal, of course, and with FPL this weekend, it's just been a nightmare. Anyone seen Kulusevski's goal today? Robin would be proud. He wasn't playing particularly great, and I wouldn't recommend an FPL, even with the Spurs assets going forwards. Only Ange Postecoglou for the assistant manager, but I would not be activating the chip now. For those that haven't done so already, I think it's probably best to do it around Game Week 32, 33. 16 points so far, what a disaster. You're not the only one, mate. I'm also in a similar boat, and there will be people with even worse scores out there. Love the sarcasm, Dylan. Bournemouth red card was so harsh. Yeah, once I saw that happen, and also the Everton clean sheet wiped out by Bruno Fernandes, I just had a feeling, yeah, this week is not going to be a good one. Now, I've got a lot of players on Sunday, actually. I've got Chris Wood, Isak, triple Liverpool with Arne Slot, and Salah captain's kind of standard. But yeah, even if I get a green arrow in the end, it's still going to seem like a missed opportunity, I think, with the... Well, just sticking with Arne Slot, I did have the extended deadline to maybe go a bit for the jugular, you could say, an excuse to do something stupid or bold, but I didn't do it in the end. All I'm going to say is I'm kind of grateful I didn't go for Arteta. Might play Aina over Gabriel. Oh yeah, I've gone for a 2-0 win for Forest, and you'll see my predictions probably at some point. If not in this stream, then you'll see it fairly soon. But yeah, I definitely favour Nottingham Forest over Arsenal there. Even if Arsenal won today, by the way, I was going to go for a 1-0 Forest. Now I'll probably go for a 2-0. Jose says, which player would you prefer for Morgan, Rogers, Wanyeri, Trossard or Nkuku? Don't go for Trossard. I've been very consistent on that. Wanyeri, I think, is fine because he's an 8th attacker, but he came off with an injury today. I think Arteta pointed towards fatigue. I really hope it is because, yeah, the way Arsenal season is going, I wouldn't be surprised if it's something worse. Even with Nkuku not really there. It's just the Southampton fixture. He scored a couple of goals, got some returns in the reverse fixture, but that's really it. So just for the 1 week punt against Southampton, probably Nkuku. Pereira AM came in for me. Watkins captain, did not expect him to fall a bit, but currently sitting at around 330. Great rank, and yeah, great pick with the assistant manager. Although I have to say, I do hope the chip does go next season. Watkins captain, yeah. I mean, for Villa to score twice at home and for him not to be involved is a bit surprising. But there is a reason why he hasn't scored against Chelsea at home, I think, in his entire career. Glasner, Potter, Pereira all got table bonus. Yeah, it's just one of those weeks, isn't it? 25 points on the bench. Who do you have? Munoz must be in there, surely. 61 points, Glasner and Boomer. Munoz says Wojtek, nicely done. Got 31 points for free left as I bench Munoz. A lot of people benched Munoz, to be fair. You're not the only one. From 376k to 110k and free left to play. Yeah, you might go down a little bit, but it should still be a comfortable green arrow for you. That's really well done. Are we sleeping on Brighton assets? As soon as you invest in them, they're going to let you down. That's pretty much the Brighton way. And Joao Pedro, I think I said this yesterday, it's going to be typical for him to get a surprise start. And he only did really because Welbeck got that injury. And of course, he got the goal and the assist with bonus points incoming. So yeah, those that bench Joao Pedro sold him this week. I still think it's the right call, especially selling him. I would completely avoid him in the long term. Play one, Castagna, Hall, Mikalenko. Not a big fan of any of them next week. I definitely wouldn't play Hall against Liverpool. No chance. I'd maybe consider Castagna, but I do think Fulham might get another loss here. Bench Munoz and Joao Pedro, but still a 6-point green arrow with Emery, so can't complain. Salah captain, Trent and Isak to go. It was dicey for those that stuck with Emery, but they got the late winner in the end. And Chelsea just disappointing. They've been terrible since December. Palmer so poor the past month, I agree. But he's still second in my captaincy list for next week. And you know what? Let's go for some different screens now. We might as well. But I'll show updated versions in future videos. And of course, for the deadline stream on Tuesday. Unfortunately, we do have another deadline, but it will be covered on this channel. And it's another chance or opportunity to make up ground, to make amends if you've had a poor week. And so far, the Saturday, not for the first time this season, isn't going my way. But I'm still quite confident I can maybe salvage a small green arrow by the Sunday, but probably wishful thinking at this point. Let's go to the FDR. So Wolves are top. Chelsea, Bournemouth, Brighton and City complete the top 5. Those near the bottom include Aston Villa, Fulham, Everton, Leicester and Brentford. With predicted points, Palmer is top, but he's been terrible for many weeks, as people have rightfully said in the live chat. Salah, Haaland, Nkuku, Mbumo, Isak, Bruno Fernandes, Mateta, Foden and Cunha finished the top 10. If you love this assistant manager chip, which I certainly don't, Ange Postecoglou is top from Game Week 27, well, Game Week 26 to 28. Arteta, well, I say 26, no. Sorry, it is 27. Unfortunately, we're still in the middle of 26. Herslot, Pereira and Guardiola complete the top 5. If we look at those near the bottom, and you can see the others in order: Maresca, Potter, Amram, Slot, Frank, McKenna, Iriola, Silva, Moyes once again near the bottom, Van Nistelrooy, Glasner, Nuno Espirito Santo, Eddie Howe, Juric, and Emery is dead last. With projected price changes, we could see Munoz and Kluivert rise, despite the fact that the Colombian blanks in 29. With price falls, you've got Kinski, Gakpo, Ahmad, Young, Isak, Idrissa Gana Gueye, Szoboszlai, Ismail Assar, Jacob Murphy, Cameron Archer, McAteer, Evanilson, who was on the bench today for Bournemouth, Havertz, Scher, Martinez, and Dawson. But not all of them will happen. They're just predictions. And I think FPL been quite funny, actually, in terms of recent price changes. And we also saw that with a funny deadline yesterday because it didn't close at 6:30. I did hear something like #1 in the world right now in Fantasy Premier League actually made the Glasner move after the deadline. So yeah, kind of funny times with what's happened in FPL this season. Let's go to the stats section just to look at the captaincy, although it's not really too interesting. But Salah, despite facing the champions away from home, is still captained by 87% of managers in the top 100k. Mbeumo second, fair play to those that went there, and that massively paid off. I don't think Salah will outscore him, which might be a bold prediction considering his away form this season. Kluivert, Isak, and Dango complete the top 5. And yeah, Kluivert and Dango both blanked this weekend. The same goes for Palmer in 6th place. And just a quick preview of Gameweek 27 for me. I've got a lot of money in the bank because the assistant manager is now over for me. I've got 4.7 million to spend and a lot of potential moves, really. Veltman on the chopping block. He could be available for Tuesday, but ultimately, I think he's sellable. Ndai, of course, could be injured for the next couple of matches, but there was a positive update by David Moyes heading into Gameweek 26, which was covered in yesterday's stream. And there's a few things I could really do in each single position, but I think those are the two main concerns. I only just bought in Kluivert and I jinxed Bournemouth. What a shock there. Nothing too surprising. We'll briefly talk about FPL Challenge, and in terms of the graphics on the left, ignore them. I haven't updated that. The 23 points, even worse than my FPL team, I would say, because I did captain Kluivert here, and I went for Arteta and Marino. So yeah, basically don't trust Arsenal, especially when their so-called title rivals drop points. It's just a recipe for disaster, something I've learned over the years with the Gunners. But yeah, FPL Challenge, I'll do better next week. Who cares? Back to my FPL team, I got 22 points. So at the moment, even worse than FPL Challenge. But yeah, it should be better by the end. I think Salah captain should be enough, even with Arne Slot. Should get some points there. Play sells. Yeah, I'd probably play sells. Close one, though. I think Liverpool win 3-1, and I think, yeah, Nottingham Forest win 2-0. Let's quickly go through that, actually. So these are my current predictions for the upcoming deadline. I'll probably go into this in one of my upcoming videos or during the deadline stream on Tuesday. But yeah, Brighton 2, Bournemouth 2, Crystal Palace 3, Aston Villa 2. And these predictions were all made before today's matches, by the way. Wolves 2, Fulham 1, Chelsea 3, Southampton 1, Brentford 1, Everton 1, Man United 2, Ipswich Town 1, Nottingham Forest 2, Arsenal 0. So basically earlier I put 1-0. Then after this I was like, will Arsenal lose back-to-back games 1-0? Maybe, but I'm going to go for 2-0 Forest. Tottenham 1, Man City 0. Maybe I'd lean towards a 2-0. That's something I'm yet to decide. Liverpool 3, Newcastle 1, and then West Ham 2, Leicester 0. But I have to say the Hammers don't have a good record against the Foxes. As for the clean sheet odds and over 2 goals, you might not really give a crap because last week they were completely off it. But before I get into it, team weaknesses, I think Fulham could really struggle against one man who got 16 points against them in the reverse fixture, and that is none other than Matheus Cunha. And the blue circles you can see there are actually the chances conceded by Fulham this season, and the heat map, which is kind of hidden in there, is actually Matheus Cunha's chances this season, particularly with the shots actually. And it is pretty much perfect if you look at Fulham's kind of average chance conceded and the position compared to Matheus Cunha and where he finds himself with those shots. So I have to say, I think Cunha can get another big return here. A slight regret not going for him, and I did buy Kluivert for Rodgers, so that was pretty much a useless transfer up until now. And of course, maybe if I just bought Glasner, that would have been even better. But in this case, I think Cunha is well poised to do well. And the last two players I've highlighted with this new kind of feature on my channel. The first one was Kluivert against Southampton, kind of a simple one, but he got an assist. And the other one was this weekend. I went for Visser against Leicester, and he produced 8 points overall. So let's see if Cunha can better that with a double-digit return against Fulham like he did at Craven Cottage. But let's now talk about those odds according to DraftHound. And Chelsea are top despite their 2-1 defeat against Aston Villa. They are facing the worst team in the Premier League. A 44% chance of a clean sheet and 60% of scoring over 2 goals. Liverpool are second despite facing a decent side in Newcastle. 38% of a clean sheet and 45% for over 2 goals. I don't get this one though. Man City, 57% chance of a clean sheet against Tottenham, a team they really struggle against historically. Even in their best years, I'm not so sure about that. 42% chance of scoring over 2 goals. United are 4th, West Ham 5th, and Brentford in 6th. And in last place, no surprises there, Southampton are dead bottom. I think Ipswich Town are 19th, and I can go into that in more detail in future podcasts. The last thing, and I want to see your thoughts on this, the captaincy. I did highlight Gameweek 26 as a nice opportunity to go against Salah, and of course those that went from Boomer, fair play. He wasn't in my top 10 for Gameweek 26, but he does make it this time round. So these graphics are quite raw. There might even be a mistake. Let's go back to it, by the way, since that's from last week. So yeah, I think all the fixtures should be correct, but if there is a mistake, that will be addressed in future videos. I've gone for Trent in 8th place, actually. He's got 1 goal and 6 assists against Newcastle in his career, and also 7 wins and 3 draws against the Toon. No losses, so Newcastle really struggle against Liverpool. I have to say, I'd be shocked if they won the Carabao Cup final in a couple of weeks' time. Never say never, but Liverpool should win that. And in this Premier League game, I think they win comfortably. 3-1, like I mentioned. And that's why Trent does make it in this top 10 list. I've gone for Heung-min Son in 10th. He likes playing against Man City, and he played very well today against Ipswich Town, albeit very poor opposition. Chris Wood is 9th. I think a goal and maximum bonus points against Arsenal is on the cards. Mbeumo is 7th. His record against Everton isn't particularly great as far as I'm aware. Jean-Philippe Mateta scored a hat-trick the last time he played against Aston Villa at Selhurst Park, but Crystal Palace have been much better on their travels. They have won 4 consecutive Premier League games away from home for the first time in their history. Bruno Fernandes is 5th. Jarrod Bowen, Cunha, Palmer and Salah complete the top 5 there. So some interesting names. Salah remains top. If Palmer showed a bit of something today, or in the last couple of weeks, he would be number 1 over Salah. I might take a punt and just go for it because ultimately I need to do something a little bit different and chase the ranks because, yeah, this would be my worst rank by far that I've ever done in FPL, and last season was bad enough anyway. But let's go back to my FPL team. As much as I don't want to see it, and I'd rather not look anywhere near my FPL squad right now, but it is what it is. Is it time to get Rashford? Not really. They blank in 29, unless you're happy to free hit in 29 or bench Rashford. Then fair enough, but he was more of a 1-week punt, I think, for the last couple of weeks. Man City clean sheet, 57%. Yeah, I don't agree with that. I just put the stats posted by DraftHound. I do think, generally speaking, they get the top 5-6 kind of spot on, but I think that clean sheet odd seems way too high. Who stays up this season? Ipswich or Wolves? Definitely Wolves for me, 100%. I think Ipswich, Leicester and Southampton are definitely going down, and United are quite lucky because if there was a better newly promoted side, I think United would be in serious danger. Wildcard 32, bench boost 33, free of 34, triple captain 36. It depends on how the doubles land, mate. I can't tell you now, yeah, that's definitely going to work perfectly for you, but it's possible. It looks good on paper, and I am looking at something like free hit in 33 or 34, perhaps even in 32, but there are different ways of approaching it. You've got essentially every chip left except the assistant manager. And I have to say, for those that do have that chip left, I would probably target it around Gameweek 32. The only downside is you can't bench boost in 33. But yeah, it's a solid plan, but I can't tell you exactly, if it's perfect or not. Because 1, I don't know your team, and 2, we don't know exactly how the doubles will land in 33 and 36 yet. Very good, but maybe no Haaland, Isak would double in 36. Yeah, exactly that. So maybe the triple captain is more appealing in another double like 33, or perhaps in 32, for example. Will you captain Salah or Palmer? My original plan was Palmer, but I might just captain Salah all the way, basically. Still captain Salah next week, even though Palmer against Southampton. Well, I've gone for a 3-1 win for both Chelsea and Liverpool in midweek. So, yeah, given those circumstances and form, I still think Salah is the man to beat. Safair says 3 of my attackers will be playing, 3 of my defenders. Should I transfer out Hall, who blanks in Gameweek 29? Yeah, and I still like both defenders, by the way, like Howson and Kirkes, so that still looks pretty decent, if not Nuri, but I think Bournemouth are still better. Hi Dylan, got a great game week with Glasner AM, ranked 2,856 now. Fair play, nicely done. Worth benching Isak, Visser, Dango to bring Cunha for Ndai. I mean, Isak, despite facing Liverpool away, is the type of player you never want to bench. Then again, I've said that about Palmer, and look how good he's been recently. I get it. Yeah, I do like Cunha a lot this week. I think from those players you're mentioning, I'd still bench Dango Ouattara. And we could see him benched for Vanelson in the coming weeks anyway, so it's not the worst. Finley says, had Dango captain, so not great for me. Yeah, he was 5th in my captaincy ranking last week, but I do think the red card changed everything. At least I had Damsgaard, Visser, and Hursler. Yeah, really nicely done, and Damsgaard was a nice differential there. The first assist was brilliant, and he got 2 of them. A bit unlucky only to get 1 bonus point. Ashwin says, I've already done Watkins, Rogers to Cunha, Bowen 2 free transfers, Thoughts, Dylan? Yeah, I get it. And I'll be honest, I'm very tempted to make an early move and buy Cunha for Ndai. I've got a lot of money in the bank. It's simple. It would mean benching one of my attackers, probably one of the Bournemouth mids, and I think Semenyo might be the one. And you know what that means. If I bench Semenyo, he'll do amazingly well with 12 points on my bench. But if I start him, start JP or Howson. Still not too keen on Joao Pedro, but in this matchup, I'm going for a 2-2 draw, so I'm going to lean towards Joao Pedro. I also think with those that benched JP or sold him, I do think the Danny Welbeck injury was very crucial in that. So, yeah, a bit of bad luck involved. Worth keeping Bruno for the next 3 weeks. I think he's a good option for Gameweek 27, but long-term, I still think he's sellable, to be quite honest with you. Feels like it was always going to happen to Arsenal. Yeah, and that's why in January I've said multiple times, I posted stories on Instagram and tweets and also on YouTube, I've made my feelings very clear that the Arsenal board writ off the season. So also 21 points here. Arteta Asman did not work out. Yeah, look, I thought it was one of the safest bets. If you look at all the bookmakers and the odds, Arsenal were the favourites to win of any team this week. But that's why football is a funny game, and West Ham obviously caused an upset last season at the Emirates. They've done it again. They played well. They deserved the win. But look, West Ham are a poor side. Arsenal should be beating them. But that goes to show how poor Arsenal are right now. They struggled to Leicester last week. And when I saw Brentford dismantle the Foxes yesterday, I was thinking, yeah, that's not boding well for Arsenal. It really isn't. MVRX Rapids says, should I bring in Cunha to replace Visser? Like I just mentioned with Visser, he's probably worth keeping for the next week or so, but ultimately long-term, I do prefer Cunha, so if that's your only route to him and you just really want the Brazilian, then do it, but I just think Visser can produce some good returns in the next 2 weeks. I have Pickford in goal, some onshore, debating a punt on Nkuku. Yeah, Nkuku would just be that, a punt for the next 2. Maybe against Arsenal he does something in 29, but not a big fan of Nkuku. Also, we'll take him out in 29. Yeah, I think it's worth a punt. Differential, facing Leicester and Southampton at home. He got a double-digit haul against Southampton last time out, so it's not the worst punt in the world. I would not be buying a City defender against Spurs. I know I just showed the clean sheet odds and stuff according to Draft Town, and City were quite high up, but I would not agree with that at all. I think Spurs will win the game, probably 1 or 2-0. So I would not be buying Gavardio for this match. Beto, Wood, or Marmoush for 27. Chris Wood for me. Bench boost 28. If your bench looks really solid, then why not, right? But I do think the biggest double in the season, so 33 or 36, might be the best for a lot of people. I would not have gone Wolves despite recent form. Red card changed it. If anyone went Saints, they're just so bad. Yeah. But the thing is, like with Brighton, they're such a funny team, so I don't blame people who took a punt on Southampton. And that's actually Brighton's first clean sheet against the Saints in, 13 years? 43 points with 4 players left, including Salah, captain, did slot to Glasner for a hit, and Ahmad to Matoma. Yeah, kind of mixed bag, but I think the Glasner one definitely made it up for you. Jack Gender says, good morning, 57 points, Glasner came through. I had Mateta as well. Yeah, those that went for Palace assets, Munoz, Mateta, Glasner. Yeah, all did very well, of course. Rude was always a bad decision. Brentford bad away is nonsense. McKenna, yes, they already beat Spurs, but stats favoured Spurs. Arteta was bad given their injuries, but still would not have gone Potter. Yeah, I mean, I kind of get some of those arguments, particularly Ruud van Nistelrooy, but having said that with Brentford, they did start the season poorly away from home, but there was also the question of the fixture difficulty. They had a lot of the easier games at home and their tougher away games in the first half of the season, so I kind of get where you're coming from. I was quite consistent on McKenna. I didn't like him against Tottenham despite the 2-1 win in the reverse fixture, and I've said if you wanted to go for a table bonus manager, Glasner's the only one, but there's also luck involved in that one, you could say. I mean, Fulham were just completely off it today, and yeah, you sometimes need that to fall your way when you play this chip or just make a change in terms of your transfers, your managers or players. Haven't got a single return so far this game week, still on a green arrow as of now. Well, yeah, I think Glasner would be a massive return for you, so that is enough anyway. Sell Gakpo to Cunha or wait for his Southampton match. I said this before with Gakpo. That is the issue with keeping him for the next couple of weeks, because you look at that Southampton game and think, I need to keep him for that. And look, if he starts there, he could get 13, 16 points quite easily. But there is no guarantee Gakpo starts that game, and I'd rather just go to Cunha, and I said that even last week for Game Week 26. Which player do you prefer for Rodgers to 6.6 million? It's still going to be Bournemouth mids for me, so Kluivert. I think Dango is maybe a bit less appealing because of Vanelson returning to the squad, so Semenyo might be a decent choice. Wanyeri is just that 4.6 million midfielder to be your 8th option, but he came off of an injury. I think it was fatigue in the end, but doesn't look too promising. I'd go to a Bournemouth mid. If you want to go for a punt, Nkuku might be the one there. The league is pretty much decided now. It was decided in the summer, and in January, Arsenal sealed their fate. I don't think today really decided anything. Salah's the most consistent player this season. Captain him, cheat code. I don't think it's a cheat code, because unfortunately everyone else is doing it, because it's very obvious. At the beginning of the season, we had, well, Haaland as the template captain, but then there was a bit of variance with the captaincy. And we might see it from time to time, but ultimately it's going to be quite boring with the template captains, unfortunately. Bench 1, Castagna, Tarkovsky or Munoz. Difficult one. I do think Crystal Palace concede 1 or 2 goals against Villa, but Munoz can still get returns in any sort of way, really. I think Castagna's got the best chance of a clean sheet, but I just go for Munoz. I think all of them concede, and if that's the case, you go for the most offensive player, and that's going to be Daniel Munoz. Only 2 blanks for Salah. Well, 3. He did blank against Palace away as well, actually, but yeah, very consistent. I get your point. Start Sarr or Flecken? I would start, I think, Flecken, but once again, I don't think any keep a clean sheet. Vissa, Mbeumo and Glasner, great game week. Yeah, you got a good score and some great picks in there. Vissa was highlighted for me in terms of the heat maps and stuff like that in my recent videos, but it was Mbeumo stealing the show. 52 points, Mbeumo captain. Well, nice. 4 left to play. Palmer captain next game week. Maybe you're onto something there. It's just with Palmer, of course, this might be a blessing in disguise for those who are very set on the Palmer captaincy, because he's shown no form whatsoever. So a lot of people will just go for Salah, and that's the template pick. But I think those that maybe want to take a punt, sort of punt, you could say, Palmer could be the one there. Beto, Wood or Mamrish for 27. You did ask this before, mate, so yeah, just rewind a little bit, mate. Thank you. 33 points, bench. Bench me and I'll score you points, JP. Yeah, that's the same with me and Semenyo. I hate him. Yeah, nice one. DVDDNS1717. Great name. What is happening at Chelsea? Well, I think they got a bit carried away, right? And I've always been very consistent on it. They are not in a title race. I thought they'd still be better than this, though, and finish 4th, maybe 5th, but now that's not a guarantee. Bruno, Dango to Nkuku for 2 weeks and bring them back in 29 worth it? Potentially. I'd probably still stick with Dango, though. Bruno Fernandes, I just don't think is worth the money, but you wouldn't want to sell him now against Ipswich after his free kick goal against Everton. So, yeah, I think if you are looking for a punt, I get it, but I'm not sure if I'm quite there yet. Yeah, if you're selling one this week, it unfortunately has to be Dango, and maybe that goes in your favour because you've got Vanelson knocking on the door. He was on the bench today, so maybe you see Dango benched very shortly as well. Yeah, exactly. Wanyeri came off of a knock. I think Arteta said specifically with him, if not it was Declan Rice, that it was fatigue related. I just bought Dango. Is he likely to start the next 3 games? He should start 2 of them at least, but I'm not sure if he starts all 3. Gakpo's injury isn't too serious. He's either back in 26 or 27, but there's no guarantee he plays the fixtures you really want, like Southampton at home, and he blanks in 29. Yeah, my prediction was 1-1 between City-Liverpool, and it wouldn't even surprise me if City got a win, for example, just to make the Arsenal disaster class even more frustrating. But yeah, Liverpool are the favourites, and honestly, this is the best chance of winning at the Etihad in many years. But I'll stick with the 1-1, I guess. Watkins to Cunha? Yeah, good transfer. Top 3 Chelsea players apart from Palmer? This is a very big struggle. But in Cuckoo, I guess, it's really bleak, I can't lie. I'm kind of forcing it here. You'd maybe go for Cucurella or Colwill. Pedro Neto. Sunday feels like a Saturday. It's basically been his day most of the season. 47 points, first green arrow in a long time. Yeah, enjoy it. Obviously, it can be frustrating when you get multiple red arrows or you struggle for momentum, but I'm glad to hear you're doing well. Chelsea fan here, and I don't think Nkuku's the one to go with. Yeah, look, for me, he hasn't really played well all season. Only in Europa Conference League against poor opposition. He's clearly not a striker. I think Chelsea tried to do something different today, but it just didn't work out in the end. And ultimately, you'd maybe want to try out Palmer as a false 9. Maybe that could work a little bit. Twister Parky says, I probably will regret not captaining Mbeumo. I just thought Glasner in and Dango -4 and then captain Mbeumo a risk too far. At least he went for 1 risk and it paid off, but Salah might just get 12, 14 points anyway, and it doesn't matter. Did Visser not get an assist? Rodgers keeps blanking week after week. No, Visser did not get the assist, just a goal and 2 bonus points, but still better than nothing. Start one of Gabriel, Wanyeri or Rodgers. Rodgers. Yeah, I mean, it's often not a great day to be a Spurs fan, so enjoy it. Best way to prevent captaincy getting stale is captaining how many times you can captain a player from each team. I would set it to 5. I've seen a lot of people suggest something similar, and I get it, but FPL won't enforce that. And there's always this debate about FPL catering to casuals, or maybe, you know, should they just keep things hardcore? And you could argue this new chip, the assistant manager, is kind of a combination of both, but yeah, they're not going to do that. I think the last part, though, ball recoveries would be a great addition. Also, reintroducing the all-out attack chip or the limitless, but I don't know. I don't have much faith in FPL, really, with this kind of thing. At least give an assist against Southampton and Leicester. I said this before, if Palmer blanks in both games, I'd be completely shocked. I think he's going to get a big return in one of those matches. Would you free in 29 if you have 7 blankers as of now? Depends how many free transfers you've got, right? If you've got 5, then that obviously changes things, but from my assumption on your situation, which I really don't know much about, I'd say free at 29 is probably the best bet for you. Is Dogu, is that Dorgu, worth it until the international break? He looked really attacking. Well, you could say that he's been one of the only kind of decent performers for United in recent matches, and he's an Amrim signing. He kind of fits that 3-4-3 system, so I think if you got him, you hold on to him for Ipswich, but he's not someone I'd be looking to invest in, and United are pretty shambolic defensively. Opinions on Foden against Spurs? I'm backing Spurs to win, maybe with a clean sheet, but that's not because Spurs are good, it's because City have been, well, they've always struggled against Spurs in the last couple of years, and yeah, they're just very vulnerable defensively. Foden's form has kind of tailed off in recent weeks. Can he produce a big return? Of course he can, but I'm not a big fan of him for the next couple. Isak to Cunha? I'd still keep Isak if possible, but you might need this extra player for Gameweek 29, and maybe you bring back Isak for Gameweek 32 when Newcastle double. Thank you, Keith. Bench Semenyo, Isak or Rodgers? I might go for Semenyo here, but whenever I bench him myself, he ends up doing really well. Would you hold Joao Pedro or get Wood instead? I'd get Chris Wood eventually, so don't get me wrong. I still think Joao Pedro is a sell, but this week is kind of debatable. Arsenal are still a good defence overall, but they look very shaky today. I think I just get Chris Wood, to be fair. He's a much better option. Yep, that's been covered. I went for Flecken. Chelsea fans, RIP Nkuku and Colwill to pieces. I might start Colwill next week, but I still think he's going to blank. I'm not going to lie. I think AM is pretty silly. I'd remove it. I agree, Beardy. But look, ultimately, I know you've done well with the AM, but a lot of people who have done, you know, really well you know, with Glasner, Emery, and David Moyes, they will say, oh no, keep the chip. And especially for those that have like really benefited from it with a massive upturn in their season, you know, you're not going to find them complaining. But yeah, it's an interesting concept in theory. I get it, but I don't think it really has a place in FPL. Top captain for Gameweek 29, arguably Haaland, and you know, against Brighton at home. If not, you're looking at Cunha or Chris Wood. That's my current top three, but nothing's penciled in. At the moment, I'd maybe favour Cunha. Thoughts on Nuri to replace Mykolenko? I still think Mykolenko is worth holding on to, and Everton are the better defence, but Nuri has a very appealing Gameweek 29 fixture against Southampton. I don't think I could sell Palmer, even if I wanted to, not enough transfers. The thing is, if he blanks in the next couple, yeah, a lot of people will look to sell him, and then he scores against Arsenal, and then people buy him back. United, stay away, stay away. I agree. If you've got Fernandes, keep. Even you could say Dorgu and these kind of punts, but I would not be investing in United. I agree. The assist against Southampton and Leicester are for Enzo, not Palmer. Nah, surely Palmer comes up. Not with just the assist, but with goals. He has to step up finally. Cunha hottest asset plus 0.3 price rise in the next 2 weeks. Yeah, I'm going to bring him in. He's one of my best signings this season. You know, Chris was my best pick in Gameweek 1, and Cunha's my best transfer around Gameweek 10. So yeah, I'm going to buy him back eventually, maybe even this week or tonight. Bench Rodgers better or Gordon? I think from those three, it's Gordon. Wood or Cunha going forward? Well, if I'm buying one now, it's going to be Cunha. But the thing is, it's kind of a difficult one because until Gameweek 34, Wolves have the best fixtures. But then when you look until the end of this season, I'd argue Chris Wood and Forest have slightly better overall. So it's tough, but I would say Matheus Cunha if you're looking to buy now. 2 early transfers made, Watkins and Roll out, Wood and Cunha in. Yeah, 2 of the best forwards in the game. Nice transfers. I might be on board with you tonight buying Matheus Cunha. Nice one, Ilko. First year playing FPL, 58 points, 4 players left. I'm up to 108k. That's a great start, you know, to your FPL journey. It can be very frustrating at times, so obviously enjoy the good times, you could say. And yeah, I think your aim would just be keep enjoying it, learn, you know, your kind of favorite approaches to the game. So if you do get some red arrows eventually, you know, don't, you know, look into it too much. But I think top 100k is definitely possible for you, maybe even top 50. Spencer's been playing fairly well for Spurs, but I'm still not buying Spurs defense. You know, they kept 2 clean sheets in the last 3 Premier League games now. 1 goal conceded, but I still think they're terrible defensively. They're quite fortunate, I think, not to have conceded more, including today. So, yeah, he's probably the best of a bad bunch in that Tottenham defence. I think Borja still has the attacking potential over him with bonus points. I think there are better options elsewhere. Wood to Cunha, keep Gakpo for the next 2. I would not be selling Chris Wood. And I really like Cunha, by the way. I would not be selling Chris Wood. So yeah, my answer would be sell Gakpo to Cunha. Best defender to buy other than Trent, Gabriel, Mykolenko. I don't think Mykolenko is one of the best. He's okay. I think you're looking at Kirkers or Howson still, despite what happened today. Nuri for Gameweek 29 is a decent choice. Not amazing, but he can do a job. So yeah, those are some options for you. Will you bench Salah and Isak in 29 instead of losing team value selling them? That is my preference. The only downside to it is I can't go for Haaland that way unless I sell Palmer, but that might be counterproductive, and I think Palmer's worth keeping for the next 3 game weeks at least. But yeah, it's a good question. That is my current plan if I don't free hit. And of course, if I activate the chip, that's not really going to be a concern of mine anyway. City says, yeah, I'm getting rid of JP in Gameweek 28 for Gakpo, Cunha, Wood, or get rid in 30 for Marmoush. I will not be buying Gakpo. Even though he's playing Southampton in that week, he blanks in 29. So unless you're committed to that free hit strategy in the blank, I just stick with Cunha and Wood, and my favourite right now is Matheus Cunha. I will have Hall, Salah, Isak, and Trent as blankers in 29. Who to keep? I get it. That is a good question, to be fair, and Hall is cheaper. I do prefer Trent overall, but in your circumstance, I think it's probably best to sell Trent, but in Gameweek 29, I still think Trent against Newcastle and Southampton is definitely worth keeping. Do not sell Trent this week. Start Hall or Mykolenko or sell to Howson. I think Lewis Hall is still a decent option long term because of the double in 32, but he does blank in 29, of course. And of course, I don't know your chip strategy if you're free hitting or not, but my preference is to sell to Howson. Yeah, that would be my suggestion at the moment. 64 points with 4 to play. Next game, Gakpo to Cunha, 8 Nuri to Hall, -4. I'm guessing you're buying 8 Nuri for Lewis Hall as part of a hit. Not so sure about that. Even if you got Mykolenko starting instead, I'd rather do that for free than buy 8 Nuri for a hit, but good transfer. Gakpo to Cunha, I think, is a fairly solid move. The only downside is if Gakpo starts in 28 against Southampton. Beto punish me from the bench. He was 8th in my captaincy list, actually. Only 7 points, though. It could have been worse for you. Isak to Cunha, then. I don't recommend selling Isak if possible, to be fair. Bonus points were just added. Yeah, I mean, no point for me to refresh because I got no bonus points today. But for those that did get bonus points, refresh and enjoy. Thierry Henry is right about watching Arsenal, like watching Netflix. He didn't say that. It was Patrice Evra. But yeah, as much as I don't like Evra, and he's a bit of a mong, you could say, or a mug, he is correct about Arsenal, unfortunately. Bowen or Mbeumo Gameweek 27. I have a feeling Mbeumo blanks that game. Both of them are in my captaincy list. I might as well show you one more time. So yeah, these are my predictions for midweek. Not a promising sight. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Obviously, I already explained some of these graphics before, so you can just rewind if you want. And I'll talk about this in more detail in future videos. So this is Fulham's team weaknesses, and my featured player here is Matheus Cunha. The last two to have been featured are Kluivert against Southampton and Visser against Leicester. So Cunha is next in line. These are the odds and clean sheet probabilities, over 2 goals as well for Gameweek 27, but I have no idea how City have a 57% chance of keeping a clean sheet, as bad as Tottenham are. So the captaincy list is up here. So it might surprise you to see this, and yeah, it is freezing a little bit, but whatever, we move. I have gone for Bowen above Mbeumo here, and I made this list before the results today. So Bowen was already in my top 10, and I put him 4th at the moment against Leicester, mainly because of how bad Leicester are, rather than how good Bowen or West Ham are. So yeah, that would be my answer to your question. Is it worth buying Cunha for one of the three, Isak, Wood, or Mateta? Yes, I think so, but the thing is, if you're free hitting in 29, I would argue you stick with what you have and just bring Cunha in for that specific game week. You can't have them all. I think the three you've mentioned and Matheus Cunha are the best forwards in FPL in terms of value. So yeah, you just can't have 4 forwards, so you got to pick 3 of them. If you aren't free hitting in 29 and you've got a lot of Newcastle, Liverpool, Aston Villa players, I think Mateta might have to be your sacrifice, but it all depends on your approach to Gameweek 29, actually. Everton defender owners were very unlucky today. Yeah, but unfortunately, Decore was a bit of an idiot, considering that free kick with a blatant handball to Bruno Fernandes. Visser to Cunha. Like I said before, I think Visser's worth keeping in the short term. That's why he was a hold in my recent Transtats video, but if that's your only route to Cunha, I'd probably go for it. Long term, I think Cunha's better. Should I sell Rodgers on 29 to get a full 11, even though I bought him at 5 million? Yeah, I'd still probably sell him. I've said this before, he's expendable. Now, I do think he returns in the next 2 matches, and I thought he would against Chelsea. I was wrong, fair enough. I hold my hands up, but is he going to make it 7 blanks in a row? I mean, he could, but I think he does produce something. But ultimately, you will find better value and better options in the long term than Morgan Rodgers, even at around 5 to 6 million. João Pedro to Cunha now, then Wood in 34. That sounds pretty reasonable to me. Is it time to drop Semenyo or Kluivert? I've just bought in Kluivert, so I don't know. That is not exactly something I want to hear. I don't think it's the time to drop them necessarily. I'd keep them. Should I sell Emery, and if so, to who? I'd maybe take a punt on Ange Postecoglou. I think Spurs beat Man City, and you'll get table bonus there. And you've also got the opportunity against Bournemouth in the following game. Is Rodgers a hold now, or a sell for Dango, Semenyo? Already got Kluivert. I still like Dango and Semenyo, but I'd probably keep Rodgers in your case and just ultimately sell him before 29. The Lamb Sauce, okay, is that a Gordon Ramsay reference? 56 points, Trent, Salah captain, Isak and Wood to play. Breakout on Riquet for the first time this season, well played. Just the Parkeeper's team, Pickford, Robinson, Gabriel, Trent, Kluivert, Palmer, Mbeumo, Salah, Cunha, Isak, Watkins, bench Dango, Howson and Mykolenko. Well, you are a Brighton fan, so I get it, but benching Dango could backfire. Then again, I think you've made a pretty decent selection with your 11. Not many complaints from me. Yeah, I think that's fairly sound. Munoz, only 2 bonuses crazy. Enjoy the points, mate. Don't be too greedy. My plan a few weeks ago was to get Bowen for 29. Maybe I need to revisit. I like him for this week, but I don't like Jared Bowen or West Ham assets in the long term. So it's really just a Gameweek 27 punt. And those that went there against Arsenal, they did well. But yeah, thank you, Keith. And he is correct. Over 300 people watching. Let's get the likes up to 200 plus at least. It would be greatly appreciated. Cost nothing. And it helps us out in the algorithm. I answer hundreds of questions, provide all the data and different opinions. Sometimes they go well, sometimes they don't, but more often than not, I do get some decent recommendations out there. Thoughts on Bowen as a differential? Yeah, just covered that. I have Cunha and Strand Larsen. Should I keep SL or sell? I get it. I mean, he is coming back from injury, but I think Cunha, Chris Wood, and Isak is the best front three. If not, you're looking at Mateta. So it really depends on Gameweek 29 for you, mate. If you're free hitting in 29, then I would be looking to sell Strand Larsen. Considering selling Mbuma to Bowen, I wouldn't do it this week, and I still think Mbuma is better long-term despite Brentford's tough fixtures around Gameweek 30. Mitoma captain clutch. He also featured in my captaincy list, although he wasn't as good as maybe we would have thought. Just the 1 goal, but yeah, we'll cover the bonus points soon, actually. It's probably worth doing that. So yeah, let's go through the bonus points now. And remember, because FPL love doing this, we can still see some changes by the end of tomorrow. I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of that. I really don't like the fact they can change bonus points on a whim. For me, that seems very dodgy. But with Leicester Brentford, of course, we had that happen yesterday. Mbuma maximum bonus points, Vissa 2 and Damsgaard 1. Everton 2, Man United 2. So the bonus points have been allocated to Bruno Fernandes, Decore and Ugarte. For the Arsenal-West Ham game, the bonus points have gone to Wan-Bissaka, Bowen, and Kilman. Jesus Christ. With the Wolves game, Matheus Cunha, of course, getting maximum bonus points. Jose Sarr 2 and Santiago Bueno with 1. Thank you so much, Fulham. I bloody hate you. With this game, bonus points have gone to Lacroix, Munoz, Richards, and Mitchell. So Lacroix gets maximum, and Richards and Mitchell are sharing 1. With Spurs versus Ipswich, Johnson gets maximum, Hutchinson 2, and Kulusevski gets 2, and Hutchinson gets 1. With the Brighton game, in the 4-0 win over the Saints, João Pedro gets 3 to troll those that sold or benched him, Hinselwood 2, and Van Heck 1. And with the recent game, Aston Villa 2, Chelsea 1, Asensio 3, Rashford 2, and Enzo bloody Fernandez with 1. So those are the bonus points. If you got any, enjoy. Maybe let us know in the live chat and celebrate the points. Do you think Cunha goes up in price tonight? I don't think so. And I did cover price changes earlier, but just to go through it one more time. Apparently, according to live fpl.net, only Munoz and Kluivert should go up in price, but FPL have been very dodgy with price changes over the last couple of days, particularly the day before last. So we're looking at the Thursday to the Friday. So I can't guarantee it, but Cunha did go up in price yesterday. I think we'll probably see him rise tomorrow or before the deadline, basically. That would be my prediction, but then again, I've got no algorithm in my head and I have no real time to really look into all the ins and outs for this sort of thing. But we do have websites like livefpl.net that are very good and that break it down for us. So yeah, back to my team. Amazing. Fantastic. So much fun. Thank you, Bad Panda. Great name. I appreciate the super chat. If you got a message, let me know. You don't need to send another super chat, but I appreciate it. And I actually forgot to set up a super chat goal because, yeah, YouTube, my computers, all the technology decided to act up before I went live. So yeah, I wanted to go live even earlier and I wasn't able to because of bloody technology. Thank you so much. But yeah, I'll set it up quickly. It's going to be a quick super chat goal anyway, and probably a modest one, not the usual 5 or 10, which is still quite modest in of itself, you could say. But let's get this show on the road. Let's see if I can put this up quickly. So yeah, let's get the likes up. We've only got 80, so the like to viewer ratio is disproportionate, but yeah, that is a YouTube thing, isn't it? Let's go for, yeah, we'll go for 5. We'll go for 1 super chat. Let's see if we can reach that. Nah, we'll go for 5. And if we hit it, whoopee whoopee do. 1 hour. Nice feature by YouTube, to be fair. And as for Google Chrome, by the way, I bloody hate Google Chrome. Maybe more on that another time, but yeah, I bloody hate Google Chrome with a passion. As soon as I said that, it basically cut off my chat. Fuck you, Google Chrome. Bloody pricks. Alright, hopefully that hasn't influenced the overlays and we can still get your messages up on screen. And yeah, if it's not bad enough, UCL Fantasy went amazingly well for me, and that will be covered very soon with my future videos and a stream. Not this Tuesday, because that will be FPL, unfortunately, but the one after. So that should be bloody fantastic. Opinions on selling Chalobah to Nico Williams and bench Gabriel for Nico. I'd favour Forest over Arsenal this week, so my answer will be yes on that front. And yeah, I think Nico Williams also helps you cover Blank Gameweek 29 quite well. It would not surprise me if Nico Williams were to be benched in one of these games coming up, because he's the kind of least secure, especially when compared to Milenkovic and, you know, Murillo and all these players. But yeah, I think that's a decent punt. I don't have Son, but he doesn't get bonus. Unlucky. Cunha won't go up. He did last night. Yeah, I think he will tomorrow, though, or maybe the day after. Should I go for Cunha before price increase? He shouldn't go up in price tonight. And honestly, I mean, look, it's up to you. But I wouldn't be making early moves, chase a little bit of team value. Not for me. I mean, if you want to do it, fair enough, but I don't think you need to. Can't believe Cunha has 11.4% ownership. Yeah. The thing is, though, it's soon going to be 20%, and it would be template, unfortunately. Gakpo and Isak price drop? No. Isak went down in price very recently, if I'm not mistaken. I'll double check that for you. But yeah, last time I'm going for price changes, because I'll be honest, don't really give a crap. But for those that do care, yeah, Gakpo apparently does go down in price tonight. If not, it will be tomorrow. As for Isak, yeah, it is tonight. So yeah, ignore me. And that was covered anyway, but I forgot. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, the thing is, I have to use Google Chrome to highlight the messages because it's an extension. Otherwise, I wouldn't be using it. But it's definitely not optimized, you could say, for Mac. But I'd rather not go into it. It's just a bloody crap browser. Ali says -8 for Cunha, Wood, Palmer in for Watkins, Gakpo and Rodgers. Not a huge fan of a -8, but you're bringing in 3 of the best captaincy options, in my opinion, for Gameweek 27. I'm going to say yes. Not a big fan of a -8, but F it. I'm getting rid of Palmer for sure. Don't even care if he scores against Southampton. I mean, look, if you get rid of Palmer, that's completely fair, but I just suggest keeping him this week and against Leicester. But to each their own. Play the game the way you want to. More passion for Dylan about Chrome than FPL? Yeah, because honestly, I really don't care about, you know, the Saturday being poor. It's kind of the usual stuff. And I think on the Sunday I could salvage something. But yeah, Chrome caused a lot of difficulties, and not just that, the technology, which unfortunately prevented us from going live earlier. I say us, I'm not Venom, for fuck's sake. But yeah, it prevented me from going live earlier. At this point, team value is done for me. Yeah, exactly that. I really don't give a crap, especially for those that went for the AM chip. They've got a lot of money now in the bank because remember, the money goes back into your FPL bank account and you can use it. Yeah, same here. You know, do I actually care? Well, if it's second, Chris Wood can do something, help me get a green arrow, then great, I guess. Ahmed says, is it worth keeping Van Dijk? Too expensive and not worth that price. Can sell him to Munoz. I think it's probably best to sell Van Dijk in 29. 1 clean sheet against Newcastle or Southampton is on the books, so I think Liverpool will achieve that despite their recent frailties. So I'd suggest selling Van Dijk in 29. The amount of points I've missed because I've avoided Palace because of the blank. Got Henderson for my wildcard, that's it. Well, at least you got something. I've got absolutely nothing at all, and that's my mistake. But yeah, that's why sometimes looking too much into blanks and doubles can be to your detriment. I had Kluivert, Semenyo, Howson, terrible from Bournemouth. Well, the red card ultimately changed the game. I bought Kluivert in this week, so it was inevitable that they would flop. Who's your top 3 keepers for the next 3 game weeks? I like Sells a lot for the long term. That's why he featured in my recent wildcard video, and I think a clean sheet against Arsenal will probably happen. But then against Man City, does Sells still make it? Probably, because he does face Ipswich Town, to be fair. So I'm going to say Sells. with 1 or 2 clean sheets over the next 3. I will also go for... Nah, surely not Wolves. I'm not going to say Jose Sa, am I? Nah. As bad as Chelsea are, I'm going to say Jorgensen because they're facing 2 of the worst teams in the Prem, in Southampton and Leicester. And I think I'd still go for Pickford. Yeah, kind of boring, but Sells, Pickford and Jorgensen is my answer. When is the Premier League over? Unfortunately, it's in May. We've got a few more months of pain and misery still to go. Start which 2 forwards out of Isak, Cunha, Vissa? I mean, next week I'd reluctantly look to bench Isak from those 3, but I don't like that. Yeah, thank you to Stupaki. Munoz is a troll. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, probably Ken back, but it is what it is, right? I have 4.4 million in the bank. Exactly what I mean. I've got 3.6, I think. It's a lot of money to play with, maybe too much, so that means you're going to overthink your potential moves, but that's what these videos and streams are here for, to help you in the right direction. And yeah, I think in the next couple of days, there's some good content heading your way. Vissa and Boomer, Munoz and Glasner, what a day. Fair play, Eric. Or Eric. One of the reasons I used AM now is because I knew Bournemouth cheap and I wanted them, might need the money later. You know what? If I knew we'd get a double Gameweek in 32, which was not really expected by anybody, then I would have saved it for that period. And then I think going for Glasner then, or Eddie Howe would be absolutely perfect. So those that triple captain sell in 24, even 25 is fine, and then use the AM around that period, they're going to do very well. Even better than the AM users that went for Moyes, Emery and Glasner. I really think that. Should I sell Isak and Rodgers for Vissa and Mbuma for a hit? Nah, I wouldn't be doing that. Also, look at Brentford's fixtures from Gameweek 29 onwards. You've got Bournemouth away. You've got some pretty tough games afterwards. A sea of red in the FDR, so not for me. Start which 2 forwards out of Isak, Cunha, Vissa. That's been covered, highlighted, so not much more I can do. Cole Palmer, good to see you. Says, unpopular opinion. I like this system manager chip. Makes the game more interesting, especially when most teams are template nowadays. Might be a bit biased when with Glasner. I've said this before. I think in a lot of cases, our opinions on the assistant manager will be kind of based on how we've done with it. I've done okay so far, and if Slot gets a win tomorrow, it's a decent showing. But yeah, those that went for Glasner, for example, are going to be like, yeah, this chip should stay, but I don't hold the same opinion. If Bassman not returning next season, what type of chip you like to introduce? I don't even mind the all-out attack chip from years gone by. It adds something different. The Limitless chip from UCL Fantasy. Those chips are much better than the assistant manager and a lot of FPL chips in general. Bench one of Wanyeri, Chris Wood, Cloyver. Do not bench Chris Wood. That's my advice. From those 3, has to be Wanyeri. Arkonos says, I had Moyes, Emery and Glasner for AM. Table bonus is clearly the way. Yeah, it looks like it, but you also need a lot of luck. I mean, look at the Everton-Liverpool game, for example. A 98th minute win. Well, not winner. It looked like a winner for them, for Everton. But that completely swung it against Slot, who was obviously leading in that moment, to Moyes' camp. And, you know, you could say fortune favours the bold, but not always. Some people went for, you know, a few punts last week and even this week, and it didn't go that well. So you need a lot of luck, of course, to go your way. But I do agree with you that table bonus is definitely the one you want to push for. But I wanted to go for Arne Slot with back-to-back double games confirmed, and I also thought Liverpool would win all but one of those games. The fact they drew 2 kind of let Slot down a little bit. And I'm expecting a draw tomorrow against City, but we'll wait and see. That's true, Dylan. Same with me. I did not know there will be a double in 32. Yeah. I think at the time it was logical for a lot of us, especially those without the triple captain, to go for either Moyes or Slot as the AM. But yeah, it's not really turned out in the best way, I think. Like I mentioned before, I think triple captain is in 24, and those assistant managing, or using the assistant manager later, will do very well. Rogers to Semenyo. Ultimately, that is a good move, but I'm not so sure about it. Thank you to Stupaki, massively appreciated. I've bought in Jorgensen and Cunha. Yeah, just to be clear, I like Jorgensen for the next 2 gameweeks because of the fixtures, but I would not be buying him personally. Cunha, though, great move, and ultimately the Jorgensen one is a differential, and in FPL you sometimes need these differentials to go your way. Dylan, am I mad to get Mateta in 28, sell in 29 for Wood, and in 30 sell Wood for Mateta? That's not a terrible way of navigating the fixtures, to be fair. So I'm not a big fan of booking in transfers, but if you've got the money in the bank, if you've also got the transfers available to make these sort of moves, then yeah, it's not the worst in the world. It can backfire because both Mateta and Chris Wood have proven to be fixture-proof in the last year, but on paper, it looks very sensible. Sell Robinson for Gabriel. I would not be buying Gabriel right now. So my answer will be no. Start Wood or Visser. Chris Wood. Benched Henderson, Aitner and Munoz, maximum pain this week. That's very tough to take. I mean, I went for a 2-2 draw between Palace and Fulham, which would have meant Glasner got table bonus anyway, but for them to win 2-0, of course, you've had that double up in the Palace defence, both of them on your bench. Yeah, it's very painful. Are 32 and 33 a double? Yes. We don't know exactly which fixtures or which teams will double in 33 yet. That depends on the FA Cup. But in 32, it's a mini double game week for Newcastle and Crystal Palace, as covered on this channel already. Thank you to Stepaki once again. Bench one of Dango, Wood, Isak and Clover. Reluctantly, I would bench Dango right now. For the next game week, I have Trent, Milenkovic, Munoz and Robinson. Which three would you play? I think from those four, I am backing a Forest clean sheet, but yeah, Trent do not bench. No matter what you do, Trent has to be in your 11, in my opinion. I would likely bench, I think, yeah, I'm going to say Milenkovic, but I don't know why. Glasner to Pereira next week or stick? Well, I've gone for a 3-2 win for Palace against Villa, so sticking with him is fine. But I also said 2-1 for Wolves against Fulham. I think Ange Postecoglou might be a decent one as well. Yeah, that is true, NH. I'm not even sure. It's basically like a hard drive issue caused problems with my settings, and it caused all sorts of issues loading up the kind of graphics and stuff for my stream. It's kind of a long story, but yeah, it's just frustrating. Which defenders would you recommend for next week? Good question. It's kind of a difficult one because I don't foresee many clean sheets next week, if I'm being completely honest, but yeah, I mean, Chelsea defenders, do I really recommend them? Just for that fixture, I guess, against Southampton. I am going for a 3-1 though. Not a big fan. I mean, if I was free hitting, for example, I'd try to cover Chelsea defensively with one option, only one, and that's maybe too much. Perhaps Aitner. Trent should be in there. I think he's a really good option against Newcastle. And I would potentially look at a West Ham option like Wan-Bissaka. Kilman got 2 bonus points as well today, but yeah, that's because, well, Leicester are terrible. That's pretty much it. West Ham could still concede a goal or two in that game because it is West Ham after all. Yeah, those are the sorts of options I'd be going for. Bench one of Rodgers, Wood, Trossard, Isak, Clover. Trossard. Would you like a vice-captainship, which would enable 2 captains for 1 game week? It's not a bad idea. I mean, it's a decent shout. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if I'd want that over the others I've mentioned, like All Out Attack or the Limitless, but probably better than the AM, in my opinion. When will the doubles for 33 and 36 get announced? I think around Game Week 30, 31, we should have a clear picture of those doubles, particularly for Game Week 33. 36 is a bit too far right now. If AM stays next season, then I see people playing it very early with a table bonus all over the place and easy to spot nice fixtures. That's a great shout. I just hope it's not introduced again, but it probably will be. Wan-Bissaka 12 on my bench. Well, I'm surprised you've got Wan-Bissaka. I still don't think he's a great option long term. I have Visser, Wood and Isak, whom to sell to buy Cunha. Visser. However, if you're not free hitting in 29 and you need all the bodies you can get, in that case, it might be worth selling Isak, especially if you've got no value tied up in him. You can always buy him back around Game Week 30 if you've got the funds, but my preference will be to sell Visser. Thoughts on Doughty for Consa next week, or is there anyone else around that price point up to 5 million max, not free hitting? Or late Nuri. I still like Howson and Kirkes. They are, well, Kirkes I think is 5.1 million, but Howson would be my favourite at around 5 million or below still. Yeah, I'm not surprised, Safir. Yeah. I'm going back to my FPL team. Google Chrome, my arch nemesis. Let's see. It's still stuck on the super chat from before. So let's see. Let's refresh it. Yeah, it should work now. But either way, I think it's quite easy to follow for a lot of people. Yeah, just cover that, repent. Around Gameweek 30, we should know. Which three defenders to start for Gameweek 25? Munoz. Well, Gameweek 25. I wish we were back in Gameweek 25. Munoz, Nico, Kanate, Hor, Mazraoui. Yeah, if it was Trent, that's a different story. With Kanate, I'm not as keen. I would go for Munoz, Nico Williams, and Mazraoui. Another change I would like them to implement is when you play triple captain, you still get to have the captain for 2 times 2 on another player. Yeah, I think that's kind of what... Well, Safair did mention something a bit different, but not too dissimilar, I'd say. It seems like Moyes, Emery, Glasner can be used as a benchmark for AM chip this season. I don't think they'll be better set up. Well, I think Gameweek 32 will be better, and Glasner might be one of those managers, actually. If I have triple captain left, when should I use? Gameweek 32 is a nice shout on an Isak, for example. Otherwise, you're looking at other double gameweeks like 33 or 36. I don't even mind single options like Salah against Southampton in 28, but I'd be looking at around Gameweek 32 in your case. Would you move Hall to Trent despite the blank? Only if you can navigate blank Gameweek 29 very effectively with that sort of move being made. Best captain next game week? Still Salah for me, unfortunately. If you want to go against him, Cole Palmer is next in line. Bench Isak or Eze? I'd bench Eze. Maybe that will change though in the coming days. Would you do Vissa plus Buonanotte out for Cunha and Neto in for a hit? Not a big fan of Neto. I know he got an assist today, but his goals record is atrocious. I think Gabriel, the centre-back, has more goals in his Premier League career. He is playing in a more advanced position, facing 2 of the worst defences, so if he doesn't score now, when will he? But yeah, Vissa to Cunha, great. Not sure about Neto. What's the situation of Aït-Nouri's injury? I'm not sure exactly, actually. I've tried to look on all these updates. I haven't seen anything, to be quite honest with you. If I see anything, I'll let you know, of course. And in the coming days, all the updates and team news will be covered on this channel. Should I sell Marmoush to Cunha? I mean, you probably bought Marmoush after his hat-trick, right? If you had him for that, then fair play, but I'd stick with him for now. But Cunha for Gameweek 29, yes, he's the better asset overall, and I get why you're looking to make the move, but I'd probably keep Marmoush for now. So, let's see if I can get anything here. Oh, great. Google bloody Chrome. Yeah, let's not even talk about them too much. Alright, let's see if I can... It's actually logged me out of a lot of websites as well. Bloody useless. Okay. Yeah. That should be okay. Alright. So yeah, if your question has been highlighted or answered, I will skip them. So yeah, just bear that in mind. You can always rewind the stream and you'll find the answers to your questions there. Yeah, someone mentioned Gameweek 25 in their question. I'm not sure why, seller. I have Greaves and thought he has a fixture in 29. I want to sell. Who is the best replacement? Howson is quite accessible. I like him. Punt on Bowen or Spurs assets for next game week? Bowen. Since we already have a tough rank, maybe just enjoy the season. Not really for me, to be honest. It's not very enjoyable. Dylan, I don't think we will have the assistant manager next year because they didn't announce it. They probably meant a mystery for half a season again, unless they keep it. It can't be worse, right? That's kind of my hope. If they do have a mystery chip next season, trying to build up all the hype going into January. Happy that I took a gamble of captaining Mbeumo. Yeah, nicely done. Transferred in Cunha and AM'd Pereira. That's a really big swing there. 62 -4 with Salah, Isak, Diaz and Burn to play. I wouldn't be too optimistic with maybe 2 of those options left, but that's a green arrow secured, so nicely done. Need Saka to come back so I can get rid of Ghost Palmer after Southampton Leicester. I don't want Saka rush back. Save him for next season. AM Chip gave me 55 points in 3 weeks. Risk paid off. Yeah, nicely done. Thoughts on Nkunku? He just hasn't really shown much in the last couple of weeks, but the saving grace is the fact he's got low ownership, facing two of the worst defenses in the league. So if you want to go for a punt, it's not the worst in the world, but you're not gonna, if you're asking me about my thoughts on him, he hasn't shown anything in the last couple of games that may be, kind of points me towards thinking he's a great option, but he's got the capability of a big return in one of these games coming up. Long term, I would not recommend him. Yeah, Inuri, I think he's a fine option for the next couple. I was burned by him earlier this season when I bought him around Game Week 10. He was atrocious for me. But yeah, for Game Week 29, I think he does tick a lot of boxes. Hold Munoz after 29? Yes, because they double in 32, Crystal Palace. Thank you to Stepaki and Sefer. Marmoush over Wood? Not for me. I think Chris Wood is much better. Or Isak next week, says MMK. For the captaincy? Surely not. I'm not sure what your question is. But yeah, Isak start in most cases, but I do think Liverpool win comfortably. I would not be selling Raya to Jorgensen for a hit. That doesn't make sense to me. This is my best gimmick in my FPL career. Career now. Huh. Went from 99k to 15k. Fair play. And ranked 751st in the world. That's really nicely done. Arteta, oh no. Well, I didn't go for him, luckily. Thank God. As for my thoughts on Arteta himself, I'm not going to change my mind based on one terrible, catastrophic, disappointing result. Yeah, whatever it may be. But yeah, I think people and this kind of social media world we live in are very reactionary. I'm not going to now say I'm, Arteta out and all that stuff. I'm going to stick with the same opinions as yesterday in my recent stream. Once again, Adi, I don't know if asking the question again is going to make me change my opinion. My answer is no. Do what you want, though. Best keeper to rotate with cells, just have a backup like Areola. I don't like rotating goalkeepers. If you still want to go for that sort of thing, then fair enough. If you've got the money and you want to invest that sort of kind of funds in that position, then Pickford. But honestly speaking, you're looking at Flecking. If not, just keep it simple with Areola. Kirkers and Timber have been disappointing. What do you think about Gvardiol as a cheaper replacement instead of Trent? I wouldn't be buying Gvardiol this week, but he could be an option in the coming weeks and months, yeah? He's got the attacking threat, and with Trent, there's a lot of money in that position, which you could then spread the funds elsewhere. So I get your point, but City are still atrocious defensively. Gakpo to Marmoush is a good transfer. However, I would prioritise, especially now in Game Week 27, I would be prioritising Cunha and Chris Wood instead. 8 Nuri, I just can't. 3 seasons at least I've got him and he's done nothing. Yeah, I got him last season, I think in April or something like that. He was shocking for me. I got him this year, terrible. Yeah, I think if you want to go against Salah next week, Palmer is the one. So just one more time. But yeah. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'll show it one more time, who cares? So yeah, these are my predictions, and I'll skip ahead to the captaincy graphics. So if I go here, we'll let it play out as well if you want to see these fancy animations. But yeah, all of them will be discussed in more detail in the next stream. Of course, this is just a reaction one, our initial thoughts on the game week. But yeah, that is how I think I'd rank the captaincy options like that. That is my top 10. Palmer is second. Cunha is really high up. Maybe he drops down a little bit. And this was made before today's matches. The best chip for next year would be a player of the week becomes captain. You could play in a double, and whoever in your team scores the most gets the captain. Yeah, there was a chip like that. I think it was in World Cup Fantasy. I'm not sure exactly what it was called, but it was like an automatic captain where it goes to your highest scoring player. MMK says to transfer one of those out for Marmoush is what I meant. Fair enough, but I'd only sell Isak if you're in a dire situation for Game Week 29 where you've got no free hit, or you don't want to use that chip in that particular blank, and you have too many kind of absentees, so selling Isak makes sense from that perspective. Yeah, on Salah currently, yeah, it's kind of a shame. But I have to say with Palmer, the good thing about him blanking and looking quite off it recently is not many or as many managers will go for Palmer as their captain because of his recent form. Yeah, there could be a great opportunity to go against the crowd. I want to captain Palmer, but only 2 days rest and form concerns me. Mbuma has 4 days rest and Salah loves scoring against Newcastle. Yeah, I'm not sure if I went against Salah for the captaincy last season when he played Newcastle and he got a massive return and Liverpool won 4-2. So yeah, I think I went for Watkins that day, who was the birthday boy. He scored, got 8 points, but then Salah demolished it. Yeah. So sometimes when you go against, kind of template or you go for something a little bit different, it can bite you, but you can't think about that too much. You've got to go for your gut and hope for the best there. Who should I get in as an expensive defender? My current backline, Munoz, Mikolenko, Konate, Kirkus, Castagno. I still think the two best premiums are Trent and Gabriel, so my opinion hasn't changed there. But would I be buying Gabriel this week? Not necessarily. I think the best time to buy him is Gameweek 30, actually. Nicely done. Buju Man, I think it is. 200k Green Arrow, courtesy of Oliver Glasner. Also had Kluivert, Semenyo, and Howson. Can Forest overtake Arsenal? Probably. I mean, Arsenal have no attackers. Munoz and JP bench still hurts, so at least I've got a green. Yeah, a lot of people have gone for a similar bench. Also a Nuri as well. Palm and Isak out in 29 for Haaland and Dango. As long as you can buy Isak again, then yes. In Gameweek 30, that is. That isn't the worst in the world. Poll worst. Okay, at least this is working now. Poll worst troll of all time. 8 Nuri. James. Carl, who am I missing? Oh, right. So, yeah, worst trolls. Semenyo for me this season, but it's probably worse in there. Cheap defenders for long term, except for Howson. 8 Nuri, but we all know how much of a troll he is. I think a Palace defender like Gay or Lacroix are decent, but it's worth going for Munoz and the extra millions there. What do you think of Pereira versus Fulham next week? I've gone for a 2-1 Wolves win, so based on that assumption, he looks pretty decent, right? But the fact he just got the big return, I don't know, maybe gives me a second, thought in my head, a bit of a doubt. But that's just the way I look at it. Buy Kudus or Bowen? It would be Bowen, but I have to say, in terms of overall play, Kudus was very threatening against Arsenal. He caused all sorts of problems and also provoked the red card by Lewis Kelly, which was correctly given. Marco Frello says, sell Brunner for Mbuma or keep him for Ipswich. Keep him. He's actually higher than Mbuma in my captaincy ranking. Do you remember a Starboy McGee? He used to be a mod for you. He's one of my friends. Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, I think I remember that. It's quite a long time ago. It's technically my first proper season I'm playing without taking a billion hits and I'm ranked 3k. The chips and benching decisions are most interesting things in the game but can really hurt. Yeah, there can be massive swings from that sort of thing, but enjoy it and hopefully you can push on to the top 1k. It's a tough one, says Papa. Bench Isak or Wood next week? Isak. Next season, introduce double triple captain, most powerful chip than Asman. Just don't have the assistant manager and we're all good. Times 3 triple captain. Yeah, Cash. Oh yeah, he's a terrible one. Yeah, I saw Can, I'm like, what? But yeah, I should have added the S myself. It was quite obvious. Munoz troll. You could say that. I mean, I thought Palace would concede 1 or 2 goals today, but obviously I was wrong. Ilka says for the next game we could have Trent, Milenkovic, Munoz and Robinson. As covered already, mate, it would be Trent. 100% he plays. I would go for Robinson. And I think I'd favour Munoz. I'm not sure why I'd say bench Milenkovic when I think Forest keep a clean sheet. I just think his ceiling is lower than the others. Now watch him score a bullet header against Arsenal and he gets 15 points. Onsa, yeah, he's another one who's... I mean, Aston Villa defenders are just terrible assets. Luca Dean, I think he's one of the worst FPL trolls ever. Back to his Everton days as well. Yeah, no worries, Ilko. So in the end, it looks like Lazy FPL won't do anything about changes after the deadline. Yeah. I actually thought you were talking about the newsletter, Lazy FPL, but yeah. The FPL website is very, very funny. Best week to wildcard is ultimately team dependent, but I've been quite consistent in terms of suggesting Gameweek 30 to 34 as a time frame to wildcard. Then it depends on your chip strategy, how many transfers you have got available, and your actual plans for the rest of the season. But I think that is the best kind of time to use it. Yeah, in my case, I'm looking at Gameweek 31 potentially, but that isn't clear cut. Yeah, Dean is a hell of a troll. So a lot of Aston Villa defenders, basically, right? The best chip for next year would be a player of the week becomes captain. You can play in a double. Yeah, I get that. Dean, James, Joao Pedro. I'm on board with that Joao Pedro one. He is a massive troll. When his ownership goes really low, he comes off the bench against City, gets a goal and an assist, the maximum bonus points. He gets a late winner against Man United. He scores against Arsenal at the Emirates when they go down to 10 men. He also shithouses a penalty against Arsenal in the other game. I'm not sure how that was given, and he gets bonus points. So yeah, I don't like Joao Pedro. For Gameweek 29, would you recommend to take a hit to get Wood because I have 3 Nottingham Forest players? Probably yes, but not necessarily for this week, if you catch my drift. You can take that hit before Game Week 29 anyway. I'm not sure what your triple up in Forest is. Maybe something like Sells, Gibbs White, /Alanga, and Nico Williams. Or at least introduce FPL Predictor combined with FPL Fantasy. Predict result right could give more points. I think that should be a separate game mode, just like it is in UCL Fantasy with Predict 6, which was, well, it used to be UCL Predictor. But yeah, they should introduce something like that. And they can stick all that assistant manager jazz in that game where you predict games, you get points for it, and that's how it goes. Sells Aina Alanga. Yeah, Aina. Yeah, it makes sense. One of the best defenders this season. Yeah, Pedro always blanks when I buy him. Yeah, never again with that guy. Like UCL Fantasy Predict 6. It used to be UCL Predictor, where every single game was available to predict. It was quite long. Maybe that's why they changed it. Salah Palmer next week as captain. At the moment, I've got Salah first in my captaincy list, but Palmer is second. I think if you want to go against the grain and go different, Palmer is the one. He's got poor form. There isn't really much to suggest a big return, but Palmer's historical record and also facing Southampton and Leicester is why he would be really appealing for the next two game weeks, particularly this week. I do think in Game Week 28, I would not go against Salah for sure when he faces Southampton, and I do think Newcastle will ship in a lot of chances and goals against Liverpool, but Palmer would be the kind of differential, so to speak, captain. He no one can diss Joao Pedro. I mean, I would get him again, believe JP alone. Well, you're a Brighton fan, it's understandable you back your own players. Is it worth buying Haaland when you have more good cheap options? Well, no, that is why since October, if not September, and hopefully this chat can actually not freeze, that'd be great. But yeah, Haaland is just too much money. 14.7 million, still way too much. He just doesn't offer enough value. You've got Wood, Cunha, Mateta right now, Isak. They're all much better options in terms of price. Bruno or Bowen for the next 3 game weeks? It would be Bowen. Not by much though. How are you feeling about the Bournemouth double up? I also have a triple up on Bournemouth. I just bought in Kluivert, so a bit frustrated. And ultimately I made a wrong call, I think, with the transfer, but the red card did change the game. I mean, I don't want to be too reactionary because I think selling or benching one of Semenyo or Kluivert could result in some pain there. Because Brighton are still there for the taking. I think a 2-2 draw is likely, or at least I think it could happen. I'm predicting a high-scoring game there. So yeah, it will be interesting to see, but I am less keen on it now, of course, than I would have been a few days ago. And that Wolves game was a big, it's a very appealing factor behind it, but yeah, ultimately it has gone wrong. Easy 9-9, unfortunately, Arsenal do not have a chance in the Champions League because they already had the deficiencies up front, and the last 3 transfer windows have been terrible. With those injuries to Kai Havertz for the season, Martinelli and Saka, they've got next to no chance. I think PSV can knock them out, to be honest. And if Arsenal do go through, they can pack the bags in the quarterfinals anyway. Yeah, Haaland still isn't worth the money. There are a ton of players that are more value, points per million than Haaland. Yeah, he was, one of my kind of go-to options in the first 5 game weeks, but it quickly became apparent that he is just not worth it. He had a really good start to the season, and I triple capped him in Game Week 2. Wasn't too shabby at the time, but yeah, Erling Haaland is not worth the money. Post Game Week 28, the options for forwards are tight. Isak, Mateta, Wood, Cunha. Sorry, 29. Yeah, Marmoush. Look, Marmoush is a nice differential, so if you want to go a bit different, he's not too shabby. But I would be sticking with Cunha, Wood, Mateta, Isak. 3 of those 4, I think, is the key. I think for Game Week 30, 32, I'd say Isak, Mateta, and I would probably say Chris Wood from Game Week 29 and beyond until the end of the season. Thank you, Keith. Thank you for all your help and content and advice. Thank you, Keith, for always participating in the chats, and thank you for the super chat. Always good to see you, and hopefully you are having a very good Game Week 26. Is Bowen a good option? Yeah, sorry, the chat is just freezing for me now. Hopefully I can fix this for the next stream. But yeah, Bowen is 5th, I think, in my captaincy list. I mean, you can see the list yourself. He's quite high up, but I don't recommend him beyond Game Week 27, to be honest. It's just because Leicester are terrible. He scored a good goal today. Very good movement from him, but West Ham are still a pretty poor side, to be honest. There's not really anything in that performance that makes me think, wow, West Ham are amazing, to be honest. I transferred Slot out for Glasner. Nicely done. Will Nkuku start till Jackson is away? Yeah. Now, I wouldn't count your eggs, you know, before they hatch. There is a chance that Nkuku is benched in some of these matches, to be quite honest with you. Just the Parky says I got Pedro in challenge, though that worked. 236 in the world and 5th in Dylan's league. I know no one cares about challenge. That's better than nothing, right? You'd rather do well than, you know, do badly, even if it's FPL challenge. So well done. So yeah, let me refresh the amazing Google Chrome. Now it should be better. But we'll wrap up fairly soon. Well, yeah, either way, to be honest, I want to win every game possible, of course. I'm not going to say I want Arsenal to lose, but does it really matter? I mean, they're not going to beat Atletico or Real Madrid, so it really doesn't matter. Looks like Liverpool win this season. Must be painful to be an Arsenal fan. They've been in and around the last couple of years, but they can't seem to go over the line. Well, I'll be honest, I was kind of mentally prepared for this after the January transfer window, so it's not really, you know, no real need to be sympathetic to Arsenal fans because, yeah, it's been coming, you know, and I thought it would happen against Forest. So my prediction was 1-0 today for Arsenal, and then 1-0 to Forest in midweek. But it's happened earlier, probably a good thing, you know. The hopes aren't raised a little bit too much because maybe City do something tomorrow. But ultimately, Arsenal last season did themselves proud, you could say. They had a good season, fell a bit short, but there is a mentality issue at the club, and it stems from the board. I think heads should roll. I mean, people should be sacked based on what they've done, the lack of transfer activity. Bukayo Saka got injured on the 21st of December. So your best player got injured before the transfer window. Then your informed striker at the time, Gabriel Jesus, gets an ACL injury for the rest of the season. So you know you've got 2 weeks left of the January transfer window. You're one injury away from a crisis up front. And you say, you know what, we're not going to sign anyone. And then guess what happens? Martinelli, 2 days after the January transfer window closes, in February the 5th, by the way, because there was an extended deadline, he gets injured against Newcastle, and then Kai Havertz is out for the rest of the season in a trip to Dubai. So a lot of bad luck, you could say, but Arsenal have left themselves in a position where they can be exposed by these injuries and deficiencies. Do you think I should sell Dango for Bowen? Only for a 1-week punt. I don't recommend it long term, to be fair. So not for me. It'd be cool if they introduced League Standards Predictor, but it would be probably a waste of time to work on that addition. Yeah. It's just a bit of fun though, right? Bit of fun. But I definitely wouldn't recommend FPL doing something like, oh, let's include predictions into FPL points. Thank you, Batman, for the feedback. They should dump the Assman chip next season and replace it with a perfect game week chip, which auto-tunes your starting 11 and captain choice at the end of the game week. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. It's quite similar to the captaincy one that people mentioned before. We saw something like that in World Cup Fantasy. But yeah, also including the bench is a good idea, actually. Man, I was spot on about Gordon to Bowen and benching Palmer, but I didn't do it. Still amazing game week. Yeah, fair play. I mean, I wasn't on board with it. Bowen looks good for next week, but I'm not a big fan of West Ham assets after game week 27. Any cheap defenders in mind after game week 29? I still like Howson and Kirkes. I mean, Kirkes is probably not in the cheap bracket, to be fair. But Howson, 8 Nuri, dare I say. I really don't like him as an FPL asset. Nico Williams is very solid. Yeah, I'd probably stick with Williams or Howson. What assets would you attack? Spent my last 3 weeks on AM transfers. Cunha would be near the top of the agenda. Chris Wood if you don't have Forest assets like Nico Williams, particularly in Game Week 29. I think Aina might be the best one if you've got the money, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one, right? Because if you are free hitting in 29, then I would highly recommend just buying Palace assets like Munoz and Mateta in particular. You don't need a third. I think those two are enough. And then after Game Week 29, so for that double in 32, I think that triple up in Newcastle could work. Or, of course, for those with the assistant manager left, of course, in your case, that's not really going to happen. But for those that still have it, Glasner or Eddie Howe, that could be a really, really good play. Which one would you introduce to your team, Cunha or Wood? If I'm buying one now, it would be Cunha. Ultimately, I'll have both, I think. Do you think Ben White starts midweek? PSV seems more likely to me, as there's no FA Cup at the weekend. Yeah, that's the only positive from today, that Ben White got a few minutes. He's been out for 3 weeks. 3 weeks, I wish. 3 months he's been out for. It's possible. Yeah, I mean, Forest away is a very difficult game to kind of put him in there from the start, but so is PSV. I think PSV can win for sure. I think Timber starts, but Ben White could get some good minutes off the bench. Got to head out. Appreciate all the advice. Green arrows to look forward to for the future, hopefully. Thank you, Jacob de Lima, and good luck. Yeah, Beto is a good option. That's why he was 8th in my captaincy list for Gameweek 26. But just bear in mind with Beto and all Everton assets, they only look good from a fixtures perspective until Gameweek 30. Beto, Wanyeri, Jorgensen, all decent enablers. Yeah, I mean, Beto's the best of the lot. Jorgensen's just for 2 game weeks. I don't like any Chelsea defenders or Jorgensen beyond Game Week 28. Saka gets injured because they make him do everything. Well, yeah, I mean, maybe his minutes weren't managed the greatest way, but there is some bad luck there as well, I think, with Saka's injury. But then Arsenal have the opportunity in a January transfer window, which is what it's there for, to improve the squad. And if you can't sign the player you really want, get a loan signing in and at least increase your chance of winning games and potentially a trophy. But they completely neglected the season, so it is what it is. The injuries in recent seasons is nuts. It's only going to get worse, I think, with more football. But yeah, let's enjoy. Start Kirkers or Robinson? Robinson. Thanks, bro. Have a good night. Likewise, Hassan. Nice one. Mr. Nice Guy, 87 points. Best Rodgers replacement. I have 1.7 million in the bank. I still like Kluivert. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, without knowing who you've got already, that is quite tough to answer. But I'm going to stick with Kluivert right now. Owners have no ambition to win. They're content with the profits. Yeah. I mean, a lot of owners are like that. But yeah, Arsenal, I mean, it's the story of the Cronkies for 20 years now. The other chip is double vice captain chip, like you captain 2 players in your team, vice captain also captain in your team. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I don't think any of these will actually happen in FPL, but I'd be happy to be proven wrong. My captain is probably going to be Salah, just like I said, captain him until the wheels fall off. But for those that want to go different and be, a bit, against the template and the grain, I think Palmer's a nice one. Mr. B says, like I said, West Ham have no pressure now and they play for themselves. Wan-Bissaka, nice defensive option. I don't know. I just like them against Leicester, but West Ham are inconsistent. They're 16th for a reason. Before today, 1 win in 7 under Graham Potter. I mean, they're a poor side, so I wouldn't be going gung-ho on West Ham. Having a Jeroboam, fine. He's a good Premier League winger. He can score in a lot of games, but I'm not really there yet, even after today. I think that's more of Arsenal being poor than West Ham being great. Your team for next week, that'll be covered in my transfer tips and team selection videos and all that jazz. I never really cover them in my reaction stream. Imagine your captain has 30 points, vice captain gets 10, your active double vice captain, you get 20. Not a bad idea, like I said. Eddie Howe in 27 or just pushing. So yeah, if you got the AM active from Gameweek 25, then yeah, it's not a terrible call, but I would not be activating it now if you got the assistant manager left in your back pocket. I'd be using it later in the season. Who to bench between Trent, Kirkers, Gabriel and Hall? Yeah, from those options, I would bench Lewis Hall. And by the way, Batman, yeah, against Liverpool, Newcastle are not doing anything, so I personally would not go for Eddie Howe. Thanks, mate. Love the vids. Thank you very much. Cheers, Dylan and chat. Still plenty of points on offer tomorrow? Possibly. Now there is double 32 AM chip. Players going to kill us in the end. We could have saved the damn triple. A lot played early because of those damn FA Cup changes. Yeah. I wish we got that confirmation of 32 a bit earlier. I would have saved it, I think. What happened to Cole Palmer? Didn't watch the game. Well, he blanked as usual without the penalties. But he'll probably do something in the next 2 and then he'll get best in the Premier League shots again. Would you bench Isak and play double Bournemouth mid next week? That'd be tempting, but I think I'd play Isak over a Bournemouth mid. Now, once again, this is an opportunity for you to go against the template, so I'm not completely against it, and I think Liverpool win easily, but Isak could score, like he did last time out. Keith says, when will we find out when all the fixtures are confirmed for Gameweeks 32 and 33? Well, Gameweek 32 we know already. Newcastle and Crystal Palace will double. For Gameweek 33, we should know closer to the time, so around Gameweek 30, if I'm not mistaken. Gakpo to Cunha before the price drop tonight? Yeah. I mean, we've got a quick turnaround, to be fair, and I'm not really a big fan of like early moves and, chasing team value, but it could work for you. Kluivert, I'm guessing you're, yeah, whatever. Potter worked his magic for me today. Yeah, I mean, he's got a good record against Arsenal, especially at the Emirates, so, he's a good manager. I don't like the FA Cup. Replay removals. Why do we have to do everything for the big teams? They have a squad, use it. Most play weaker teams now anyway. I mean, yeah, look, I support, obviously, unfortunately for my sins, a crap team that lost today. But yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of replays, but it is part of FA Cup history. Fuck FPL, who cares about that? So yeah, I do agree with you. I mean, it was pretty much in place to appease the big clubs. If Reece James was played at right wing back, would he be considered? No, because of his injury record. For the next 2 weeks, as a short-term punt, maybe, but not long-term. Palmer projected to outscore Salah on FPL team. Same with Fantasy Football Hub, which I covered earlier, but yeah, look, I might end up going for Palmer. He is currently my captain, like, as things stand, but I do think Salah is objectively the best option when you look at form as well, and also his record against Newcastle. But Southampton are the worst team in the league. They just lost 4-0 against Brighton at home, and as bad as Chelsea have been, you would still expect Palmer to produce big. Yeah, but bench boost 33, that is my current plan. But if you've got the AM, I just think the best time to use it without thinking of other chips is around Game Week 32. The downside to it is that you wouldn't be able to use the bench boost in 33. I don't trust fpl.team at all. I think it's a great website for visualizing future moves. I don't really look at the suggestions they give, to be honest. But in terms of, visualizing future weeks, it's very helpful. Do we think Chelsea will dismantle Southampton? I don't know whether I should have Nkunku. I need to make up 80 points on my mini league, but I have Palmer. Is he enough? Well, captaining Palmer gives you a slight edge over those that maybe go for Salah, if it goes well for you. And I don't mind going for a second, maybe even a third Chelsea attack, maybe third Chelsea player anyway, just for 2 game weeks. But long term, I think 1 is more than enough, and Palmer is still the one to go for. But with Nkunku, he's been very inconsistent during his time at Chelsea. As a differential, why not, I'd say, but I think there are better options in that midfield. That's the way I look at it. 52 points, still got Salah captain, a second slot. That's pretty good, to be fair. Maybe Clover isn't who we think he is. He isn't like Semenyo, a 90-minute man. Yeah, the last 2 games he's played, 70 minutes? I think he got subbed off just before 70 this time round. Not what you want to see, and a bad transfer from me, not for the first time this season. Yeah, we've got some big scores in the building, yeah. Which team most shocking in the terms of the standing? It's still going to be Forest. Let's not forget they finished 5 points above Luton Town last season, who are close to League One now, going into next year, whilst Forest are 3rd. Is this season's FPL most unpredictable? I think so, yeah. I've matched or bettered my mini league opposition on Asman today, good day, but tomorrow on Isak captain. Fear the worst. Yeah, I mean, it's not too terrible. As long as you don't captain Isak next week, you should be good. Rogers to Bowen or Joao Pedro to Cunha, who is better? Still Joao Pedro to Cunha for me. Who would you sell out of Aina, Hall, Rogers, or roll the transfer 1.8 million in the bank? I wouldn't sell Aina. I think I would sell Lewis Hall. But if you're free hitting in 29, then no. I don't think so, because you'd want Lewis Hall for Game Week 32. So that is very important in terms of determining who you keep. But ultimately, Aina is definitely worth holding on to. Should they keep the AM chip for next season? No. FPL team is good for planning, but the expected points I find confusing. Yeah, it typically is quite low, and it's always a similar mark, between 55 and 65. Maybe sometimes you'll get a bit higher, but yeah, I don't look too much into predicted points. I sometimes showcase it for people watching. It can help them with some decisions, but ultimately, I just use it to visualize future moves, compare chip strategies, and much more. Chelsea may win, but what if another player does the job other than Palmer? He is still a talisman for Chelsea, and I think he'll produce a big return in one of the next 2 games for sure. I'd be insanely shocked if that didn't happen. Yeah, Chelsea have only kept 4 clean sheets all season. Yeah, I might start Levi Colwill because my defense is still terrible. Do you also check FPL statistics for price changes? I used to. Back in the day, I used to go to it with my streams, but now I just kind of stick with livefpl.net. Occasionally, I also look at Fantasy Football Hub's projected price changes to see if they kind of match up with livefpl.net as well. In 16 games versus the Magpies, Salah has 10 goals and 7 assists. Impressive, but Southampton is atrocious. I strongly feel Palmer will haul. Yeah. ultimately one of those two will be my captain. I've currently got it on Palmer, but objectively speaking, with form also considered, I think Salah is still going to be the best captain in most game weeks. I definitely wouldn't go against him in 28, and I think 26 was a nice chance to go against him. Those that went for Mbumo, fair play. And yeah, game week 27, Palmer is definitely a decent alternative despite his poor form. Hopefully I can gain even more rank tomorrow. It could be a miracle to get into the top 1 million from 3.7 million, 11 game weeks. All the best, City. That's great progress, and may you keep on going with the momentum and hopefully to even better ranks in the future. Watkins to Cunha or JP to Cunha and bench Dango and play Watkins. In 29, I plan to bring in Chris Wood. I would rather sell Joao Pedro to Cunha still, despite his big return today. Gameweek 30 could be a perfect week to go third and captain. Yeah, I mean, Leicester at home is a great fixture to target for anybody. That's why Bowen is so highly rated in my captaincy list. Not because of today, I promise. I made the list before anything happened today. But of course, that goal against Arsenal will make him very appealing for a lot of people. Cheers, City, and to everyone else watching. So yeah, hopefully Google Chrome doesn't let me down next time, but that is asking... It's like asking Arsenal to not let you down. That's not going to happen. Let's get the likes up to 200 plus. Thank you to those that are going to watch back as well. In the playback, I guess you could say. Those watching live, massively appreciate. All the super chatters, patrons and members, thank you very much. Like the video if you enjoyed it or found it insightful, and subscribe to the channel. The plan is in the coming days, if I've got the time, to go through some different videos like the best wildcard team, transfer tips, and my team selection, all before Tuesday's deadline. Yes, we will unfortunately be there on Tuesday to talk about FPL and the amazing Premier League. And for UCL Fantasy, the week after, we have Matchday 11 content, of course, and another deadline stream on the Tuesday. And there's quite a big gap, actually, between Game Week 26 and 27 in FPL. But all in all, there is a lot of content for you in terms of videos and streams for both fantasy formats, FPL and UCL Fantasy. Easy says, as a Chelsea fan, even though Southampton is the worst team this season, I predict Chelsea to give themselves a tough time to beat Southampton. I've gone for 3-1 Chelsea. Maybe Southampton take the lead or equalise at one stage, but Chelsea should still have too much quality for them. Did Moyes Emery McKenna instead of Glasner? Well, you did it really well with the first two. The last one, of course, fell flat on his ass, but that's what I mean. It's a massive swing. I understand why he went for it. I think McKenna, he would have been second in my list in terms of table bonus managers. So over Ruud van Nistelrooy and even Vitor Pereira. But yeah, I mean, look at, obviously, credit to those that went for Vitor Pereira. That's a massive differential and you deserve it, but you need a lot of luck. I mean, do you think Wolves win that game if Bournemouth don't get the red card? You just need things to go your way sometimes. Average game week points is only 22. That's good because in one of my head-to-head leagues, I'm facing average, so hopefully I can beat it. I'm currently sharing the exact same, for fuck's sake. But yeah, still a long time. Yeah, I don't like Chrome. They watch everything you do. Well, there is this kind of thing about Apple now. Watch me get actually hijacked and my channel deleted. But yeah, there's a lot of things flying about. Ultimately, you can't really trust any of these companies. They sell information like anything. But yeah, let's not get cancelled, right? That is the plan. But I'll see you very soon for more FPL UCL Fantasy content. If you've got any more comments or questions, let me know in the comment section down below. And you can follow me on X, Instagram, Blue Sky. The Discord server is a great community to be a part of. And not only me, but also others will help you with your FPL and UCL Fantasy questions. There's also my my Patreon and the championships. If you want to support the channel even further, you can click the join button on YouTube and also go to patreon.com/DylanRCM. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the football. We've got 2 matches left of Game Week 26, and yeah, there is going to be a lot of videos headed your way. That is the plan, as always. See you later, Beardy. Always good to see you. Thank you, Richard. Dylan, you're a machine with all the content, mate. How do you find the time? Really appreciate all the top quality. I appreciate Richard, and yeah, with FPL, unfortunately, a lot of videos are being made about this amazing game, but we tried to have fun with it, and yeah, it should still be a good one. So, Game Week 26, the gift that keeps on giving. Congratulations to those that got the assistant manager spot on. I have to say, I'm not a big fan of the chip. I've made my feelings clear in this stream, but ultimately, it will depend on how well we've done with the booster in terms of our thoughts going into next season. If there are any objective views on it, let me know in the live chat and also in the comment section. I'd like to see your thoughts as well. Take care, enjoy the football. I'll see you very soon for more FPL and use fancy content, and I'll see you in the next stream and video. Remember, on Tuesday, we've got another deadline stream for FPL. Take care.